meditation is David Bryan.
Thank you, Kat. Good morning.
Good morning.
Happy Mother's Day. How many of you here are not mothers? Congratulations. I'd like to have a meditation this morning. And to do it, you can do this with your eyes open or closed, but I think you'll find if you let your eyes close when it's time, you'll find yourself able to sink them to that place of quiet, prepare yourself for today's lecture. So as you sit there and you get comfortable in your chair, I'd like to have you create in your mind an image of the figure 8. Okay? Just create it in your mind. Notice how a figure 8 has two circles sitting on top of each other. And they touch by one point. This one point connects the two circles. So turn the figure 8 upside down. Lay it on its back. Put it on its side. And now begin with each inhale to let the right side become more pronounced. And with the exhale, let the left side be more pronounced. So connect your breathing to the image so that when you breathe in, you emphasize the right side, and when you breathe out, you emphasize the left side. And just keep practicing that, hooking the intention of the mind to the experience of the body. And as you do that, I'm going to ask you to complicate this a little bit more. I would like you to trace that figure 8. You let your eyes trace that figure 8 from left to right, right to left. And try to trace that tracing, match that tracing with your breathing so that you're on one side inhale, other side exhale. Notice how your lungs breathe the pattern of infinity over and over and over again. This exhale and inhale is one of the deep patterns of the world. We have night and day, in and out, up, down, hard, soft, full, empty, right, wrong, convex, concave, heads, tails, fire, water, me, not me, masculine, feminine, north, south, planned, spontaneous, smart, stupid, clean, dirty, known, unknown, aware and unaware. We reflect on the fact that everything has its opposite. It's as if one cannot exist without the other. And they all meet in that one place, which is the heart and soul of the human being. Out beyond right and wrong, there is a field. Meet me there. Meet me there. Thank you.
We are fortunate in our presentation this week. It's palliative care in Jalisco, and it's presented by Dr. Susana Lua Nava. Dr. Susana will describe to us what palliative care is, why it is needed, and the status of palliative care. Where am I now? It's in Jalisco. She is dedicated to creating a palliative care and hospice model for Mexico that addresses needs of patients and their families. She is founder of Juntas Contra el Dolor, which is United Against Pain, the only 24/7 palliative care hospital in Jalisco. She is a graduate of Universidad Autónoma de Guadalajara Medical School and spent 3 years obtaining a palliative care specialty in the Canary Islands with Dr. Marcos Gomez Sancho, the most highly regarded exponent of palliative care in the Spanish-speaking world. Dr. Susana is also a nun, a teacher, and an author. And here to translate and to introduce her more fully is Wendy Jane Carroll.
Yeah. Thank you for being here on Mother's Day with us. I'm very honored to present Dr. Susana Lua Nava. And we have a few little, what we call caveats. She's accustomed to speaking with a projector and lots of photos that explain pain. And so we're going to try to wing it and do the Cliff Notes version. And I will ask some questions and then she'll go ahead and we will do our best. Also at the end, we have printed up for you a little resume of what this talk is about with details and websites that you can go to, even with an explanation of Canada and the US comparing systems. And with great pleasure, Susana.
Buenos días, como decimos los mexicanos, ¿verdad? Me da mucho gusto estar con ustedes. Nada más una cosa lamento, que toda mi familia vive en los Estados Unidos y he descuidado de muy pequeña el inglés. Lamento porque sé muchos chistes y me gusta amenizar estos momentos de compartir. Mi familia parte vive en California y parte vive en Texas y acabo de venir unos días de Puerto Arturo. Parte de casa también. Vamos a hablar de cuidados paliativos.
Do you understand? No. No? Okay, great. Okay, she's thrilled to be here and she's got family.
She's thrilled to be here. She's got family in the U.S., especially in Texas, and she loves to tell jokes, and if there were more time, she would.
Hablar de cuidados paliativos es hablar acerca de la historia de la propia medicina. Los cuidados paliativos ya datan acerca, si hablamos en referencia de la historia de la medicina en la Edad Media en Europa, donde tenía una forma de integridad en la atención del paciente en fase terminal, lo que sería la asistencia espiritual, la atención médica y también los problemas relacionados con las cuestiones legales, herencias. Curiosamente, había una complicidad. Si el paciente de pronto deseaba ser auxiliado de forma espiritual se podía negar si no se resolvían las cuestiones monetarias de herencia, porque había discusión o división de pueblos, sobre todo
Mucho para recordar.
okay.
Okay, so, there's a long history of cuidado paliativo over the centuries. What she wants to talk about is the overall view, the view of the care of the patient, the care of the family in this situation, the legal complications that are possible, and all kinds of spiritual and emotional support for patient and family, because this is part of her model.
Los cuidados paliativos ciertamente se veía de esta forma tan integral que se preocupaban tanto las leyes civiles como el asistente espiritual y el médico porque el paciente muriera bien, que estuviera protegido en todas las esferas de la vida. Y se podía decir que se consideraba una buena muerte o una muerte maldita. La buena muerte, cuando el paciente tenía resuelto todos los aspectos materiales, espirituales y médicos. Y la muerte maldita, cuando moría por envenenamiento, muerte súbita, desbarrancamiento de carretas, que no daba tiempo a arreglar asuntos terrenales o espirituales.
Okay, Cliff Notes translation. Okay, the goal of palliative care is a good death if it's for end of life, because there are two parts of palliative care. One is to assist those with chronic pain, and the other is an end of life. And she's talking right this minute about a very good death in many respects.
Vamos a hablar un poco acerca de la historia de donde inicia el hospice o los cuidados paliativos. Este diseño histórico data del año V con San Jerónimo, ciertamente desprendido del catolicismo, y Santa Fabiola, su discípula.
Okay, the history, briefly, started in the 1500s with Santo Jerónimo y, ¿cómo se llama la santa?
Santa Fabiola.
Fabiola, sí, okay, in the 1500s.
En Ostia, en Roma, era un lugar que se había adaptado ciertamente para albergar a quienes, a todas las personas y enfermos marginados, como podían ser leprosos, como podían ser mutilados, huérfanos, toda esa parte de personas que eran segregadas y marginadas por una sociedad.
This started outside of Rome, Italy, in Ostia, and care and attention were to people who had leprosy, who had serious disabilities, and diseases that may or may not have been known about at the time.
El nombre de hospicio viene de ese momento agradable que existe entre el hospedero y quien era albergado. Era un momento, un encuentro fraterno, solidario, y de ahí nace esta palabra de hospicio, que posteriormente se denota ya más este nombre a todos lo que es el área de hospital.
Okay, so she's talking about the origin of the word hospice, which is actually hospitum in Latin, and what it meant, which was to offer comfort and offer hospitality. And it was at this time that the first concept of healing and caring for others came to the fore.
A través de la historia vamos a ver cómo siempre ha habido grupos muy caritativos, muy entregados en su vida, sobre todo en el catolicismo, una entrega dedicada exclusiva hacia los más marginados. Y podemos ver en el transcurso de la historia muchas asociaciones e inclusive algún grupo de pastores también que en su momento en Holanda hicieron una muy buena labor social. Pero quiero subrayar de una forma especial, podríamos nombrar, son bastantes los grupos que a través de los siglos han denotado esta presencia caritativa hacia el enfermo crónico, degenerativo o postrado. Pero quiero subrayar de dónde nacen los cuidados paliativos sobre el siglo pasado con Cecil Sanders en Londres, en el Christopher Hospice de Londres, en 1967.
Okay, so the real history is with, it starts with the Catholic Church, usually nuns, offering care. Moved up to Holland with Protestants, and then she's jumped to the present with Dame Cicely Saunders, who's known as the founder of modern-day hospice as we know it, outside of London, England.
Cecil, curiosamente, creemos que por eso Cuidados Paliativos tiene esa visión interdisciplinar, porque Cecil fue primeramente secretaria administrativa, fue trabajadora social como profesión, fue enfermera y posteriormente termina siendo médico.
Okay, Cicely Saunders worked as a social worker. She became a nurse, and later she became an MD, and then she opened the first hospice as we know it today.
Pero en Montreal, Canadá, sobre 1975, Belfort Mont acuña la palabra paliativo. Significa cubrir, proteger, cuando él sabe que el paciente en fase terminal, cáncer, algún estado, por ejemplo, insuficiencia renal terminal, insuficiencia cardíaca, ve que no se van a aliviar.
Okay, 1975, Montreal, Canada. A physician there at a hospital created the term from the old Latin term of palia, which means to comfort, because there was an onslaught in the 70s of cancer in Canada, and this is how the use of the name palliative care came into being, as we know it today.
En el Hospital Royal Victoria de Canadá es uno de los que ha aportado a América Latina de una forma muy especial, inclusive el primero de ver reconocido cuidados paliativos como especialidad.
Okay, so at the Royal Victoria Hospital in Canada, they further developed palliative care. This is on that sheet that you can pick up on your way out. Go ahead.
Cecil Sanders estuvo participando en la Universidad de Yale, en Estados Unidos, desde 1963, tratando de transmitir la filosofía y lo que son los cuidados paliativos para una muerte digna.
Okay, so in 1973, Cicely Saunders came to visit the United States to share her vision of palliative care.
Pero, ¿qué pasa con Estados Unidos en referencia de cuidados paliativos?
What happened in the States with regard to palliative care?
Tiene la participación muy importante de Elizabeth Kubler-Ross.
Okay, Elizabeth Kubler-Ross, as you may know, became the most well-known spokesperson in the U.S. She's written books about end of life and a good end of life.
Ella empieza a compartir en 1969 los trabajos acerca de cerca de 500 encuestas a pacientes que se encuentran en fase terminal, y ella es la que deja un legado de riqueza de descubrir las etapas de duelo, las etapas emocionales por lo que un ser humano pasa en ese momento donde se encuentra ya al borde de su vida, como es la ira, la negación, la negociación, la depresión y la aceptación.
Okay, so Elizabeth Kubler-Ross, 1979, focused on end of life and the stages one goes through. Repítame, negation, depression, sí, I'm supposed to know these by heart. Okay.
Está estudiando diplomado.
Sí.
Bien, entonces los Estados Unidos empiezan a trabajar en dos áreas. Cuando Elizabeth comparte esta riqueza, establece nada más clínica de dolor y una área psicológica para atender al paciente, pensando que cuando tienes un cáncer tienes que ir enseguida al psicólogo. Y el paciente dice, me estoy muriendo, no estoy loco para ir a psicología.
Okay, good that you understood. So she's focusing on not just the pain, physical pain, but the psychological pain as well.
Esto ha hecho que los cuidados paliativos se debiliten y no se han visto totalmente con integridad. Por eso la escuela que ahorita tiene fuertemente América Latina es Europa en materia paliativa.
Okay, so since this time, Europe and all of Latin America have used the model of an integrated form of care for palliative care.
Es sorprendente las cantidades, si pudiera yo describir las unidades que tenemos en Europa de hospice, de hospitales, de clínicas, de atención domiciliaria, en razón de que ya se reconoce como especialidad. Y aún en América Latina, realmente al médico paliativista lo ven como de tercera, de cuarta. Llévatelo, ese médico no importa mucho. Entonces ha sido una gran labor en cuestión federal, en cuestión legal en México, el incurrir de una forma profesional que se nos reconozca a quienes hemos estudiado en el extranjero y ejercitamos o ejercemos esta profesión como tal.
This is an important point. Palliative care, answers yeah, is not taken seriously in Latin America. For example, there are about 200 palliative care physicians in all of Mexico, and other physicians, not always, but little by little, they are expanding their importance because there's such a great need for this kind of care everywhere in the world, not just here.
México, ciertamente siempre copiando los Estados Unidos.
She said we usually copy everything that happens in the U.S.
Entonces, sobre 1972 se inicia en el Distrito Federal las clínicas del dolor con el mismo diseño, clínica del dolor y consultorio de psicología.
Okay, the first appearance in Mexico, 1972, in Mexico City, with a clinic just for pain, and then a part dedicated to the psychological aspects of healing.
Posteriormente se empieza a trabajar y ciertamente a finales de los años 80 en México ya empieza a haber médicos que van a Europa a tener una visión más completa y más integral de los cuidados paliativos.
Okay, so around the 80s, physicians from this country went to Europe to further their studies in palliative care so that it would be an integrated model.
En Guadalajara, concretamente sobre 1988, en los hospitales civiles empiezan lo que son clínica del dolor y solamente hasta 1994-95 se inicia como tal con algunos médicos que se han capacitado tanto en Canadá como en Europa, inician las unidades integrando la interdisciplinariedad de los cuidados paliativos.
Okay, so in the very late 70s, early 80s, they started to integrate care for pain here in Jalisco, Guadalajara specifically, at all of the hospitales civiles, the public civil hospital. Okay.
En el 2002 hubo un Hospice Cristina, únicamente que era privado y no funcionó por los costos que esto implicaba para las familias de los pacientes.
Okay, in 2002, Hospice Cristina was established in Guadalajara based on an American model, but it was private. And just last year, they had to close the doors because of lack of funds and support.
Ciertamente, ya para entonces, a partir de 1995, se empieza a trabajar un poquito más en el IMSS, lo que es el Instituto Mexicano de Seguro Social, el ISSSTE y hospitales gubernamentales, tratando de cambiar este aspecto, no solo clínica de dolor, sino integrar lo que son cuidados paliativos, que ahorita lo vamos a definir.
Since 2005, the IMSS, which you probably know, the Public Social Security and the civil hospitals, instead of separating the care out, they needed an integrated effort.
Ciertamente su servidora estuvo capacitada con un pionero, un gran pionero, el doctor Gómez Sancho, y estuve del 2003 al 4 en España, y ciertamente es el tiempo que ahorita tengo trabajando en este proyecto, donde hemos fundado la única clínica, o el único pequeño hospital a nivel de Occidente, exclusivamente para albergar a pacientes que se encuentren con una enfermedad altamente mortal o terminal.
Okay, so in 2011, Juntos contra el Dolor opened a small hospital in Guadalajara that would serve anyone suffering from chronic pain or who was at end of life, usually with cancer, but also other enfermedades, other illnesses.
¿Por qué una asociación civil ONG? Porque el paciente que se encuentra con cáncer es un paciente multigastado. Es un paciente que ha invertido en tratar de curarse del cáncer. Entonces hemos elaborado una asociación civil para que nuestra filosofía sea: tengas o no tengas dinero, exista un lugar digno para que mueras sin dolor y que estés muy acogido y una forma muy confortable.
Okay, this nonprofit was formed so that it could serve everyone, no matter their socio-economic background, no matter, so that you could have, for example, if you were of very modest means and couldn't afford care or the pesos to get on the bus to go somewhere for care, that you would have at end of life a very dignified death.
No ha sido fácil.
It hasn't been easy.
Creí que era mucho más fácil, pero la verdad, los médicos, oncólogos, internistas, no nos quieren a los paliativistas.
Yes. Did you follow that? Most oncologists and internal medicine physicians are not too fond of palliative care physicians for their work.
Creen que en realidad no hacemos nada, cuando en verdad nosotros manejamos todo el complejo, no solamente físico, sino emocional, espiritual del paciente, que en realidad cada día sigue aferrándose a la vida. Eso el médico por formación no nos lo enseñaron, y cuesta mucho trabajo que el médico baje de la actitud semidios para convertirse en un hombre, un hermano que siente el dolor del otro.
So, that's a strong statement. All right. It's very important. This is my translation. Okay. It's very important that physicians have a deep sense of compassion and can relate to each of their patients and the pain that they're going through.
Los médicos ciertamente ya están integrando en las universidades, como es la Autónoma, como es la Universidad de Guadalajara, esta materia, aun cuando en algunas universidades aún es optativo el recibir lo que son los cuidados paliativos o las clínicas de dolor.
So at the universities here, the two medical schools she's speaking of, UAG, which is private university, and UDG, which is public, they do teach courses in palliative care, but they separate out the pain part from the integrated care part that includes socioeconomic level, spiritual support, and psychological support.
Es importante saber que en lo que es en México, Guadalajara ha sido la punta de lanza o el pionero en este campo. Yo junto con un grupo tuvimos que ir en el 2007 al Senado de la República para legislar en materia de cuidados paliativos porque había posturas políticas donde decían que cuidados paliativos eran igual eutanasia.
Okay, we're getting to something very important. Yeah. Oh, okay. Okay.
Okay.
In 2007, Dr. Susana Lua was part of the team to go to Mexico City to talk to the legislatures and to try to institute a law here in this country, which came into being in 2009, which she will speak more of, that every person is entitled to pain relief and to a dignified death. And it was very hard because in the minds of most people, they think of palliative care as euthanasia, which it is not.
Tal vez he tratado un poco la parte histórica y origen de paliativos en México. Lo menciono porque ha sido muy difícil. Somos muy pocos los médicos que realmente nos dedicamos a esta labor porque al médico general no le gusta esta área.
Okay, so there's so few of us, paliativistas, meaning the about 200 in the country, and general practitioners aren't too fond of this area, she says.
¿Qué
So
son
it's hard for them. It's hard for the paliativistas.
¿Qué son los cuidados paliativos? De una forma muy sencilla lo voy a definir. Es la atención total, activa y continuada a los pacientes y sus familias que se encuentran en un estado terminal.
Okay, what is palliative care? Her definition: a very concentrated care for each patient and each family member. Continuous, not interrupted. That it be safe, peaceful, and as comfortable and as serene as possible.
Por un equipo, este servicio lo proporciona un equipo interdisciplinar cuando la expectativa no es la curación del paciente.
And it's very important in order to achieve this that you have a team with whom you work that is integrated, and I can share with you there are social workers, psychologists, pastors, priests, and others who come to support this very activity at Juntos contra el Dolor.
La meta fundamental es la calidad de vida del paciente y la familia.
Quality of life for each patient and each family member.
Debe cubrir
It has to cover
las necesidades físicas,
physical necessities,
psicológicas,
psychological aspects,
sociales
social,
y
social
espirituales,
aspects, and spiritual.
tanto del enfermo como de la familia.
So, both for the patient and the family.
La mayoría de médicos vamos a un hospital y nos ven solo al paciente, ¿cierto?
He said usually you go to the hospital and you're just seeing the patient.
El médico paliativista tiene que reunir a la familia y preparar a la familia para hacer un equipo y que en casa el paciente sea de la mejor forma tratado y cuidado.
So the palliative care physician makes a very special effort on every occasion, always meets with the family, sits with them, explains what's happening, what each member can do in these situations.
Clínica del Dolor no hace esta labor.
This work is not just a clinic for pain.
Clínica de Dolor únicamente aborda aquellos aspectos de dolor orgánico, fisiológicos que el paciente tiene sin integrar el área de la familia.
So direct pain care does not include paying attention to the family.
Es importante saber que no únicamente vemos la situación física con la familia, tenemos que ver todos los detalles para enseñar a hacer una bitácora de cuidados en casa, para que el paciente realmente pueda estar más confortable.
Okay, most patients prefer to be at home, and they try to accommodate this, and they teach family members how to take care of their loved one who is in bed.
Todos los detalles como pudiera ser
Each
la
detail,
luz,
from the light that's in the room,
la ventilación,
the ventilation in the room,
los lugares donde el paciente deambula para evitar que caiga,
making sure that wherever they're walking, they won't be falling.
una habitación adaptada desde su condición de pobreza o desde su condición de vida,
Something that will also fit their socioeconomic level, but she's also talking about universal design, where you've created a space that's physically safe and psychologically and mentally safe.
y cuando se encuentra en postración, enfermería tiene que enseñar el aseo, el bañado en cama.
So if they're bedridden, they're taught how to bathe their loved one, how to feed their loved one, and take care of all other needs.
Si me preguntan de forma sencilla qué son los cuidados paliativos,
So if you ask me in the most precious form, what is palliative care,
diría con tres palabras:
I'll share with you in 3 words.
cuidados intensivos humanos.
Okay, intensive, human or humanized, humanistic care.
Posterior al fallecimiento de nuestro paciente, también tenemos que llamar a la familia para saber cuáles son las condiciones en que se encuentra emocionales o si se requiere aún la asistencia psicológica.
So they're very careful to see if, to spend time and learn what's going on in each family psychologically, so it will be a peaceful transition for everyone.
¿Quiénes son el equipo que integran cuidados paliativos? Médicos,
Okay, on the team, physicians,
enfermeras,
nurses,
psicólogos,
psychologists,
asistente espiritual,
spiritual assistants,
trabajador social,
social workers,
voluntariado.
volunteers.
Es importante saber que aun cuando nosotros contamos con una unidad católica, somos muy respetuosos de las condiciones espirituales, independientemente de la religión de nuestro paciente.
Okay, even though this is basically a Catholic country, Juntos contra el Dolor serves everyone, Buddhist, no faith, any faith, because this is a human service.
Hay un libro que saqué, y es la 4ª edición, se llama El enfermo terreno sagrado, y es donde refiero lo sagrado del ser humano y que en realidad la religión jamás en paliativos ha de ser un problema o un motivo de discusión.
Okay, she's talking about a book she's written called El Terreno Sagrado, which means holy ground, relating to everything that relates to each patient and family member is very holy, very spiritual.
Son 4 las áreas que se considera el ejercicio o en la atención de los cuidados paliativos.
So 4 areas to pay attention to.
La consulta externa,
Oh, okay, that you can come just for a meeting, a consultancy.
consulta externa donde el paciente puede ir a un consultorio a ser atendido.
Or be at home for the same.
La segunda, la estancia corta. El paciente muchas veces requiere pocas horas para algún suero, algún tratamiento especial y posteriormente regresa a casa.
Okay, sometimes someone needs very quick attention and then they're sent home. Emergency situations sometimes.
La tercera es la atención domiciliaria, donde el paciente cuenta con los recursos en casa para ser tratado y cuando el paciente está postrado, donde ya no puede moverse, los médicos, el equipo, vamos a casa para continuar con el manejo.
So the idea is that members of the team go directly to a home if anyone is in bed and unable to move, bed confined.
En los estudios internacionales se considera que más del 80% de las personas prefieren morir en casa.
Yeah, there's a study that says, an international study, 80% of the people on our planet prefer to pass away at home.
Y por último, la unidad de
Lastly.
hospitalización. La unidad de hospitalización. La unidad de hospitalización es aquel paciente que no tiene familia, que se dificulta la atención, que tiene familia dispersa o que se encuentra en estado de abandono y que requiere un lugar donde sea atendido por profesionistas hasta el último momento de su vida.
Right, so if you have been abandoned by family or are completely alone, there's a place to go where you can be taken care of in the most professional manner until your last days.
Hay mucho más que hablar.
And she has so much more to talk about. As you can imagine, she's also a professor, so. Yeah, and if you're interested, Saturday in Spanish, coming Saturday, at the Cultural Center of Ajijic, she will do a slideshow, which explains in a very important way what this care is all about. But it will be in Spanish, but you'll be able to understand. That's at 6 o'clock on Saturday. Thank you, Susana.
Gracias.
So we know you must have questions. So if you'd raise your hand, someone will bring a mic. Please stand up, ask your question slowly, and Wendy will interpret the question and we'll get it asked.
Hi. Do you think palliative care in the areas where we're so behind is been held back because they are mostly Catholic countries? I'm a European. I grew up with hospice care.
Ella conoces muy bien cómo funciona el hospicio y pide si catolicismo es un problema aquí por avanzar cuidado paliativo.
Es cuestión cultural.
It is a cultural question, yes.
Somos muy...
Estamos
trabajando, yo también tengo problema con mi mismo clero.
Okay, so she has her own challenges trying to do the work here.
Mis amigos, 2 sacerdotes que son parte de la asociación,
My friends, there are some priests who are also supporting this organization.
estamos muy abiertos al trabajo ecuménico para realmente una atención digna al que sufre.
Yeah, they're really trying their best to give an ecumenical support for a very dignified death.
Y creo que la Ribera es parte de un arduo labor que tenemos que hacer nosotros.
And also, they'd like to expand to offer services here at the lake. because it's a needed service everywhere in the country.
El Papa no quiere eso, ¿eh? No quiere división.
Back here?
Yeah.
Hi, I enjoyed your talk, and it's important that everybody has dignity with death.
Es muy importante que es una divina muerte.
Now, my question is, has anything been set up for the people who are incarcerated or in mental institutions, will never get out, and will die in those institutions?
Oh, es muy interesado en esto. Wow, ok. Es personas que están en galera, por ejemplo, o en instituciones mentales, ¿cómo pueden aceptar esto? ¿Qué es la situación aquí en México con cuidado paliativo por ellas, por estas personas marginalizadas?
Es muy importante saber que el paciente tiene que tener primeramente un diagnóstico terminal.
Oh, for this, she could come, but they have to have a diagnostic, yes, it has to be a terminal illness, and then she can appear anywhere.
Pero
However,
los pacientes que se encuentran en estado crónico degenerativo, sí podemos y seguimos trabajando con ellos para dignificar ese proceso crónico, como puede decir, hacer distrofias, postraciones o personas con parálisis cerebral.
so, they're disposed to assisting and making life easier for people with multiple sclerosis, and other chronic diseases, physical challenges.
Solo que nos contacten y nosotros podemos presentar, inclusive las instituciones nos buscan para asistir a ese tipo de pacientes que él refiere.
Up here in the gazebo?
Yes. Is there any nursing home in the Lake Chapala area who provides anything close to palliative care right now?
No, sí, lamentablemente en materia paliativa no existe. En materia paliativa lo sé por estadísticas estatales.
Did you understand that? So basically, okay, okay. As far as she knows, direct palliative care, as she knows it, is not here at the lake. Yet. Thank you, Margaret. Perfect.
A couple of questions. Number one, I am a general doctor in the U.S. and I set up a hospice. And one of the hardest things to get was the spiritual people. We couldn't get priests, ministers, or anybody to do that work. But we trained volunteers to go in.
Oh, where? Where were you?
It's in Massachusetts. And we do care about other people. Maybe down here they don't, and I think a lot of the local doctors do. It's a difficult area because we're taught to cure. So it's the other side of the coin. I have a question
Yeah,
about,
okay.
¿Usted tiene licencia para morfina o estas cosas? Porque no hay aquí.
Very important question. There are very few physicians in Mexico and especially in Jalisco that are licensed to write a prescription for morphine. And all palliative care doctors can and do have it accessible. And so, but Susana would like to speak on that a little bit.
En América Latina ha sido, no solamente en México, toda América Latina ha sido difícil, porque tengo un tema que se llama mitos y realidades de la morfina.
Okay.
Hay muchos médicos y ahorita ya Secretaría de Salud está agilizando, porque el problema es que el médico tiene miedo a recetar morfina, porque son drogas delicadas.
Sí. Okay. So It's a very delicate political situation, and not just in Mexico, but in all of Latin America, about even being able to prescribe morphine because of what's associated with it in terms of drug running and everything else, or something getting into the hands of someone who shouldn't have it, and many other complications.
Todos nuestros médicos prescribimos morfina.
But all palliative care physicians prescribe morphine.
Vengo de Guadalajara, no problem.
This is our last question. I know you all have probably lots of questions, but we only have time for one more.
Good morning and thank you. My question has to do with your funding. How are you funded? Are you writing grants? Are you getting donations from the pharmaceutical companies? What's happening in that regard?
Okay. Sí. Trabajamos de donaciones,
We work by
Rifas.
donations.
rifas,
Okay, that a rifa is a raffle. Thanks.
Colectas.
Asking.
Actualmente estoy a punto de convertirme en empresaria de salsa para ayudar a los fondos.
She's going to convert herself in this moment to become an impresario of asking for funds.
Tenemos solo dos empresarios que nos ayudan.
Okay, we have industries and companies that do help us with donations.
Tal vez en otra ocasión presento el proyecto innovador que estamos elaborando junto en el Ayuntamiento de Tlajomulco, muy interesante, que tal vez puede interesar a ustedes, con un hospital, si Dios nos lo permite, para 200 camas.
Okay, God willing, they've already started a project near Tlacomulco. It's called San Agustin, a small village. And they're already serving every Thursday morning the people of that area, and they're hoping to do something like that here as well. And they're also planning to build, God willing, as she says, a hospital also in that area near San Agustin. Someone has donated property.
Se hace un estudio socioeconómico a los pacientes y si nos pueden aportar algo, y si no, de cualquier manera se proporcionan los servicios. Se hace un estudio socioeconómico.
Okay, first they do a social economic study.
Si el paciente tiene, nos aporta, y si no tiene, aún así se le brindan los servicios.
So if the patient can pay for it or not, they'll decide whether they offer their services or not for free. But it's run very much, from my observation and working in other Latin American countries, Catholic nuns usually do something very democratic. People who can really pay, pay. People in the middle maybe pay just a tiny amount, and people who have nothing don't pay. That's usually how it works.
So I understand you're coming back on the 31st to talk to us.
29.
The 29th. Okay, and you're going to be talking to us about palliative care locally. No, you're going to be talking to us.
I could, but
What are you going to be talking to us about?
Senior care options in Mexico.
Okay, but it will touch on this a bit?
If someone has questions, absolutely.
Okay. Okay, thank you so much for coming here today with
Gracias
us.
a ustedes.
And we're here if you have any more questions. We'll be out there. Thank you very much.
So everybody, you can turn back on your cell phones. Please pick up your cups. Remember to bring your own cups. It's really wonderful for us. If you'd like to get a copy of today's talk, Roy Nolan has them. You can sign up here or on the website. And if you can, would you please take your conversations outside so we can close up. Thank you so much.